Right, and I'm here with my counterpart, Bonnie Worth. We are the clairvoyant and the medium who's answering all of your questions and directing everything through beyond belief. Did I do that right? Did I say
You
that
did.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, just a second. I'm I'm the crazy one out of the two of us. You guys will learn that. So when I'm the one heading the questions, it's like you got to expect I'm going to be like squirrel over
Yeah.
here.
And I just laugh at her craziness, so that's what you can
Right,
expect.
we're just used to it. It just comes with the package. So we have chosen to answer questions from your clients and my clients. And so
Yes.
this one is a question that came from my clients. And just a little FYI to all of you that are watching, when you see Bonnie start, it's a question coming from her group, and when you see me start, it's a question coming from my group. So
Love it.
I'm going to read to you, Bonnie, an email that I received with a question.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to give my answer, and then you do. And then I have a feeling you're going to have a lot to say on this one. Okay. So happy New Year, KJ. I'm so very sorry to hear about the profound father of your loss and the hard times in 2023. It's definitely been tough for all of us. My question would be, if there is anything I can do to help my rare chronic illness get better, or if I will be joining my loved ones on the other side sooner than I'd like to. I always think of our visit that we had so fondly, hoping that you're doing well, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's the actual question. My question is there anything that I could do to help my rare chronic illness get better, or if I will be joining my loved ones on the other side sooner than I'd like to? For me, this is sort of a two-part answer. Okay, so you're going to get my sort of soul answer and then my clairvoyant answer. So my soul answer, I think it's so important that everybody understands that, as much as you feel completely and totally out of control in your life, and like you don't get to control everything that's happening, and Lord knows I would love us to show everybody otherwise, but as much as we don't feel like we have control, okay, we got taxes, we got all that kind of fun stuff. The one thing that your soul is 1,000,000% guaranteed is when you get to go. And I know in any time I've ever experienced the other side, and any time I've ever experienced someone dying, they know that it's happening. And so I think that that's such an important question because, or such an important answer, because what I'm picking up from this particular client is that she's absolutely scared that she's dying. And I think it's so important that I express to her that when you still have fear, the answer is you're not going anywhere, right? And that may sound crazy to so many people, but we're not scared once we decide we're ready to go. So as long as there's fear involved here, then absolutely you're not going anywhere, right? That's sort of my first part answer. My second part is, there is always something that you can do to help your chronic illness. There are, and I feel like, so clairvoyantly, I feel like there are some muscle issues here. There's something connected to nerves that are attached to this. There's an autoimmune attachment here that's causing some issues. I sense that there could be some paralysis over time, stiffness of body, inability to move as well, lots of chronic fatigue. And so my first reaction is to get out of the healthcare system is my first reaction, because it is not where they, and again, please don't misunderstand me, anybody. If I've broken my leg, right, or I've, cut off a limb, I'm going to the hospital, right?
Yep.
But when I'm dealing, when you're dealing with illnesses, especially in 2024, we're given medication, and medication is a stopgap, not a corrector. So I really feel like shifting and changing your nutrition, focusing on a lot more plant-based, doing a lot more juicing, focusing on bringing in smoothies, but smoothies that have a lot of berries, a lot of some turmeric and some ginger, keeps coming up for me. But really focusing on plant-based, and seeking out and searching what plants, because I'm clairvoyant, not a holistic practitioner, what plants you would need to use for your particular condition. So that's my answer. Go, Bon.
Oh my gosh, this is a beautiful, beautiful question. And first, let me
Okay.
just say I'm really sorry to hear that you are struggling with such physical impairment.
Yeah.
I'm definitely feeling that as well, a real physical impairment and immobility here. I think first in answering this, I too have like a two-part, maybe three or four-part. We'll see how it
Yeah.
all unfolds. But first and foremost, when we look at it in terms of death, I agree with what Kjarlune is saying, is that because there is still a fear that's there, and simply because you're asking the question is an indicator that this actually is not your time. So you wouldn't be asking the question, you wouldn't be, having the fear being activated inside of you in terms of this either. But what it is this beautiful opportunity that you've been gifted through that awareness and through asking, where you absolutely can turn this around for yourself. And it is the invitation for you to begin to make some different choices for yourself, different choices than what you've been doing thus far. And again, I would also have to agree that this is really looking at a more of a holistic, a more natural, a more organic and supplemental approach to your well-being. I pick up on a lot of inflammation inside of the body, a lot of it in that case. And so that anything to decrease the inflammation in the body, and again, looking at what are those natural foods and ingredients, things that are high. I would say I'm seeing things like getting into a lot of the root vegetables first and foremost is going to be very, very therapeutic for your body. We are here on earth as spiritual beings in this earth experience, and we need to have earth foods and earth. It's almost like the dirt, so to speak, to help our body process the inflammations and the illnesses and disease that are there. So anything you can do to support your body with organic foods, really increasing the supplemental scope, and foods directed to alleviating the inflammation in your body is going to help really make a big difference. The other thing here that I just want to put out to you as well is that sometimes we hold beliefs in our subconscious mind that say that we are not worthy of being healthy. We are not worthy of knowing joy in our life. We're not worthy of being able to continue going on living after all of our loved ones are on the other side. And I can tell that this individual has had a lot of loss in their life, being able to process, and almost as if there's almost the survivor guilt, still being the one that's here on this earth plane as opposed to with everyone there. And there's this like feeling a little bit guilty. I don't feel worthy of still knowing joy. I don't feel worthy of still experiencing life. And so there are some limitations within the belief systems that, again, we are worthy of joy. We are worthy of health, and you are worthy of being healthy. And and again, just knowing that it is possible for you. I'm also seeing what would become so valuable to you is to really begin to give the universe a different kind of idea, imprint a different energy stream into the consciousness. Right now, you're tied up in health and illness and pain and suffering. And please know, I am not diminishing that. And this is not about putting on rose-colored glasses and not really seeing reality. This is about using your mind and begin to envision, see yourself healthy. What would your life look like if you were vital and healthy? What would it look like if you were living in no more pain? Envision that for yourself. Imagine
what you think about, you bring about.
Right. Imagine a movie in front of you and that you're seeing the movie, and then step into that movie and begin acting in it, and then look to what's the next movie and start using your mind to begin to shift and create the kinds of experiences that you are living within your life. You have the power to really transform this for yourself. And the very fact that you've asked the question is because this is the invitation for you to begin to know your own power, to really change this. I agree with KJ. Western medicine is wonderful. It helps us to save lives, but we've also got to look at what else is there that we can do to what would be create our longevity, our well-being, everything. And so I definitely would encourage you to begin to see what other alternatives are available for you.
So now I'm going to take us into a bit of a different direction with this question, because here's the other things that are coming up for me, right? So one of the first and foremost things that I would like her to understand is that and this is going to take us into a tangent that I think will get answered in a lot of questions, but how I always see our coming here to school. So very important. My perspective of Earth is that this is a schoolyard and you are in private school and you have a curriculum that you need to follow. And I want to back this up by letting everybody know and understand that we all have the identical curriculum. However, we choose our grades according to what we choose to do before we get here. And so how I explain this to people is like going into, and again, I was raised Catholic, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. It's like being, it's like walking into a confessional booth, and you've got all of your curriculum, what's left for you to learn and experience, and you just pluck things out of it. Okay, I'm going to experience heartache in relationships in this life and how to bypass that and get through that and actually, trust and love unconditionally. I'm going to hold on to health issues in this life. I'm going to experience being murdered. I'm going to be a murderer, whatever it is in the curriculum that you're choosing to pick in this particular round. And the reason that I'm sharing that is because I think it's very important that you understand, sweetheart, that this is a part of your curriculum, right? And so because of that, it is absolutely something that can be fixed. And I think that this is things that people aren't told. Like if I'm correct, and I'd like to say that I am, but if I'm correct, and it's in her curriculum that she's going to have this debilitating chronic disorder, that she's going to have to face that and work through that, then that means that every decision and every choice that she has made coming along in this life is to get to this outcome. But what it also means is that her job is to heal from this outcome, because if you don't, you come back and you do it again, and it's harder. And I would be reasonably confident to say that she has already experienced that a couple of times in other lives, which is why this is now coming across as a rare, chronic, debilitating illness. Right? The more severe something is, the more times you've had to experience it. You didn't get your t-shirt. You didn't get the lesson. You don't have your little graduation certificate up in your soul home telling you that you've experienced it. So I think that's very important. I also think that you need to look at the emotional side of this, right? Mm-hmm. What kind of communications are you having in your own head? And a lot of people don't understand this. This is the coach in me. We have like anywhere from 30 to 50,000 comments that we say to ourselves every hour of our lives. Every hour. Okay. So what are you saying to yourself? What did you take on through your life that you have made yours that actually wasn't yours? And this is so important, because just because we experience something doesn't mean it's about us, right? Just because we're affected, doesn't mean it's our lesson, doesn't mean it's about us, right? So how many things have you taken on? How many traumas, right, have you taken on? You and I have had this conversation because you've been so vocal about your traumas, right? Mm-hmm. How many experiences and traumas have you taken on and turned them into, I deserved that, I'm not worthy because that happened to me, when in reality, you just happened to be the person that they could learn their lesson on. Right? So I think it's really important to focus on what you're doing to yourself, communicatively and emotionally, right? Because it's brutal. The things that it's so important to understand that we are manifesting physically, financially, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, every moment of every day of our lives. What we think about, we bring about.
And at faster rates than ever. Right now,
way faster, because energy is spiraling out of control, right? The universe is also trying to save its schoolyard. So energy is at a much faster pace, right? So I think it's really important to ask yourself what you're going through emotionally. And I know, the one thing that I've noticed about human nature, and I'm going to get you to take off because I'm sure I've made points that you're like, I'm ready. One of the things that I think is amazing about human nature is, we have no problem, okay, as human beings, we have no problem going and spending a few $100s to go for dinner with our friends, or, going to a show, or going on vacation, but when it comes to actually making that investment in in bettering our lives, in becoming fuller, in having that assistance to get past all those roadblocks that you have, we're like, oh no, we can't afford that. We can't afford that, right? How much are you willing to invest in yourself? And I do not just mean money, because money is the easiest thing on the planet, right? Easiest thing on the planet to make. I also mean time, energy, self-love, self-worth, redirecting your conversations, taking yourself out of that victim experience and into that warrior and survivor and thriver place, that victor, right? How much are you doing that, or are you just surviving? Because I love you, beautiful girl, but I'm telling you right now, you've been pushing this. You've been trying to make it that the small part of who you are, instead of the biggest thing you've ever achieved by overcoming it. Does that make sense? So Tag, you're it. I'm sure you've got tons of things going on. Like crazy.
There is so many things going on here and I love that you brought up the emotional content of it. And because when we understand that for every illness, every disease, every ache, every pain, anything we go to, there is an emotional root cause.
Yeah.
And because the emotion has been suppressed. And here again, looking at this, even just, from that basis of knowing that there is some content, there is some trauma, there is something here that you've been trying to walk away from, and your physical body is no longer letting you walk away from it, and you're literally having that experience. So this is again the invitation for the healing to take place, the emotional content of it. And so I absolutely agree with everything that you're saying. And I also love that you bring in that this is a part of what it is you are here to experience and learn from in this lifetime. And so we can look at it in a basis. It can have karmic understanding and things like that. Absolutely. That can be a part of it. However, you're being given this beautiful, holy opportunity to really, really hone in on, as I said earlier, your power to heal. And your power to heal not just your physical ailment, but more importantly, the things that you have been denying, you've been suppressing, and that you've been avoiding. And KJ, I can't tell you the number of times that I've said this. And I first want to state this as I am someone who cares about my appearance. I love getting my hair done. I love going for massages. I love nice clothes. I love getting my nails done. All of that. Don't get me wrong. I like to have the ability to be able to do that. However, what happens for a lot of individuals, and I know that there was a time in my life where that was overriding things, was trying to fix things in the outer world to make it look like I had it all together, to make it look 100%. Like everything was well, and yet not will. And I never had the money. I always had the money for the purse, the money for the shoes, the money for the hair, the money for whatever, the holiday, whatever, but not for, I didn't have the money for a coach, and I didn't have a money for the healing. I didn't have a money didn't have the money for that. But here's the clincher, is that everything that's going on inside of us is what's showing up, is what will show up in the external world. So our world around us doesn't get easier. We have to be willing to lean in. We have to be willing to feel things. We have to be willing to reconcile and to be able to shift our perception of ourselves. So as you said, what is the mind? What are you telling yourself? What are you telling yourself that you're worthy and deserving of? Because there's so much here that has been an inherited storyline, which means what someone else has told you, how someone else has made you feel, how someone has believed that what you're worthy of. And that's overriding here. And so being able to look at overcoming the inherited storyline for you to begin to understand and know your own value, your own self in a way as being someone who deserves compassion, who deserves to be respected, who is deserving of kindness, who is worthy of being loved for who you are. That's the ultimate here. And that's really going to help to really shift and change things here immediately. The other thing that came up, and I just, and again, as I'm going on my tangent, is going back into that fear that we talked about earlier, that fear of dying. I want to just say that understanding is that we all have come in, we all have a date of birth. We all have a date and time when we were born into this world. And we all have a date and time that was already decided before we even came, we decided before we even came into this life. So we're always on this path working towards what would be our death day. And again, to know there's no such thing as death in the universe. It's a change of form.
Transition.
However, in saying that is that we don't call our death in sooner than what it has already been decided. We don't. And that no one dies too early. We don't. Right. It's all been predestined.
We can feel that way because we're upset that they're gone.
Absolutely. I don't want to diminish it, but to understand from that contractual space of where we don't even have access to some of those high level contracts that we as souls take on. However, to know that we have the choices, though, in knowing that death day is there, into what is the quality of our life going to be? Are we going to increase our suffering, or are we going to be able to heal and shift and know more joy, more ease and well-being in our life?
And then the next thing is asking yourself every day, are you living?
Right.
I think that's such an important question. Are you actually living? That's one of the things that I'm doing with myself a lot right now is because you allow, I've always found it so wild that we allow sort of the one guarantee that we have to be the biggest fear factor. And not only do we allow it, but the powers that be around us use it. No. You got to look at the last 3 or 4 years. You got, no. Everybody's got to stay home or you might die or you might kill someone you love. And of course, the whole time I'm sitting back going, we're all dying and we all know when we're dying. And when it's our turn, it's our turn. And all of these other things, whether, it be a car accident or it be an illness or it be those are things that we have manifested into our outcome as our escape, as our release hatch, if you will, our graduation, our death day, whatever you want to call it.
And that includes suicide. Can I just put that in there?
Oh, 100%. I had such an amazing experience from that, because of my childhood and religious upbringings. I was always taught how bad suicide was. And I swear that's why I had the suicide case that I had to solve, because I had to be able to discover that really is meant to be too. Right. And I think that's so important. I have a lot of people who ask all the time, well, why do people go so young and why can it be so fast? And it's because everything that you set out in your curriculum is either done or damaged, and you got to come back and do it again. So you're finished, right? That's it. You're finished, right? Yeah. But I think it's so important to also be asking herself, because again, what you think about, you bring about. So are you focusing enough on how you're living? Because I think that's such an important question. Are you focusing on the fact that you're alive today? Today, what does today do for you? Because you're here today, right? I think that's such an important question. And then the other thing that I wanted to throw out that might actually sound crazy is I would say that, when you were talking about the guilt of still being here, and I 1,000% agree with you, but my question would be, how much are you bringing in those loved ones to help you? How much are you leaning on their energy to help you get to this solution, right? I have this unbelievably amazing coaching client who I love so much. And, when he first originally started to come to me, like most people, he wanted to increase his business and do really well. And he came to me when he thought he was in remission of cancer. And since we've been working together, it has raged right back up. And he understands that, he can only fight this for so long. And he's content with that, which of course makes me nervous as a coach, because I know that means sooner rather than later, right? I understand that, which is fine. But it's amazing because while he's going through all of these things, and he's going through brutal things, he's going through the chemo and the pains and and every time I talk to him, he's like, today was such an amazing day. Like I lived in it. I felt it. I wrote a message for everybody for when I'm gone. I've discovered, or he'll say things like, I've discovered that I can give my coaches in the business the reins to take over, and they can turn that into a legacy. So it doesn't matter if I'm still here or not. Right. Like and it was a couple of weeks ago, we were in a session and he looked at me, he's like, it's really weird, Kjarlune, because I always thought I was a liver. He's like, but I'm living more now that I'm dying than I ever lived while I was living. Right. And I think that that's such an important question. I feel like all of us should be treating every day like it might be the last.
Right.
Because it could be.
Because as much as we know that we all know we're going to die. And as much as we know at that higher level inside of
Yeah.
us, when that date is, this human part
on the conscious level, we
on
don't.
the conscious level, we don't,
Yeah.
but we need to be living. We need to
Yeah.
be really moving into not planning for our death, but
Yeah.
looking at how can I make the most of
Yeah.
this time that I have? How can I enrich people's lives? How can I release the past and know more joy? How is it that
Yeah.
I can, right? And it, we're all trying to control. I mean, as human beings, we want to be in control. And the only thing we ever have control of is our choice in this particular moment, how we're choosing our thoughts and what we're thinking.
Yeah.
And, I look back even in my life when I was at my lowest, and honestly, being able to, just like your client, being able to really change the perspective of life and look at what is good in your life instead of
Yeah.
what isn't working, and the fact that things are trouble. Now, again, I know I'm someone who has been living with chronic pain over this last several months, and so I know that the difficulties of mobility and what it means,
And how hard it can be
and
mentally.
how hard it is mentally,
Yeah.
especially when your nervous system is being affected.
Yeah.
It's really hard to be positive, but it becomes in those times where it actually is more potent and more powerful for you to sit down and write a list out of the things you have to be grateful for. Even asking yourself at the end of the day, what was the one good thing that happened to me today?
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Being able to
really
shift.
using, when you have energy for that short bit of time and your pain's down, really taking advantage of that time instead of being frustrated when you don't have those times, when you're really struggling with how you're feeling, and you just make a little, post-it note of, when I feel better, this is what I'm going to work on. Right. And just put it to the side and then go rest. And then when you then grab one of those post-its and, really take advantage of that time. I don't think people understand, here on earth, we waste an awful lot of time.
Oh, don't we?
We could achieve great, vast things on a fraction of the time that we actually achieve mediocre things, right? We waste a lot of time. We're time wasters. We truly are.
Totally.
And so I think the thing that, when I'm dealing with people that have chronic illnesses and they have, there's a couple things that I focus on as a coach. And the one thing that I focus on is how amazing they're doing in this situation versus how bad they're doing. Everybody focuses on how bad I feel. I focus on how amazing you're doing, considering, right? I think that's such an important thing. And then I focus on how strong you are, right? Most people focus on the pain. I focus on the fact that you're able to get through it, right? It's just, and I've had chronic pain. I mean, I truly, just so everybody can understand, I had a back injury that was actually so bad that month 3, I was begging my husband to let me die. I was begging him to let me take the pills, right? Thank goodness the MAID program didn't exist in our country, because I'd have gone behind his back and done it. I really would have. For the first, I can honestly say I absolutely would have. And so I understand it is debilitating. It is. But you've really got to embrace the moments that are good. And I think that goes with everything, right? I know, I really, I think the last thing I would say about it is that you have to understand, that you chose this. And if you understand that you chose this, see, the great thing about everything that I choose, whether it's my mistakes or my successes, is I got no one to blame but me, which is, that may sound crazy, but it is so freaking awesome, because I now have to deal with me, right? I don't have to figure out if anybody else is wrong. I can deal with me. And that means that I'm totally in control, right? Because if it's because of me, then it means I can do something about it. Right. So I live in that. I don't, it doesn't matter what it was. I've never once, I wasn't an abused wife because I'm a victim. I was abused wife because I chose an abuser, and every abuse I took, I chose that. Right. Now I'm a survivor. Right. So I don't resent any of those things. I don't resent anything I've experienced or anything I've done, no matter what good or how bad it is. So I really think you need to learn to sort of get in the driver's seat. Is sort of the last thing that I would say, is get in the damn driver's seat, because you've been letting other people drive your vehicle of life for way too damn long. Other people's thoughts, other people's feelings, other people's emotions, other people's frustrations, other people's experiences that you were a part of, right? Get in your damn driver's seat.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And this of course brings up so many things here as well. And it just sparks even more. But I think, one of the things even too with my coaching clients and working with people who feel like they just have no hope in life. I deal with a very, people who have just reached that point in their life where
Yeah.
they feel broken. They have no hope. They don't feel like there's hope. And most
Yeah.
importantly, they don't feel like they have strength to go on.
Yeah.
And as I share with them, you absolutely you are stronger than you realize, because it takes incredible strength
Yeah.
for you to get up every day. It
Yeah.
takes incredible strength to get dressed. It takes incredible strength to show up or even send this email in to KJ and I. That's
Yeah.
incredible strength. So if you
100%.
can start celebrating how strong you are, how
Yeah.
strong you are, look at and just begin to really look at the things that you are doing well.
Yeah.
You're going to see you're going to know more wellness as a result. The
100%.
universe works that way. The more you focus on, the more that you call into your experience. And so when you
Yeah.
start looking at how well I'm doing, look how strong I am, look at how amazing I'm doing in this moment, because I'm still taking a step forward. I'm still showing up every single day. The universe is going to reward you. It's going to be like, wow, look at her focusing on the good that she's doing and how strong she is and how healthy and vibrant.
And don't focus on the fears.
Right. Not on the fear, but on the, right. I have seen so many women turn around their breast cancer diagnosis, turn around their physical pain and everything, is what this individual is going through, simply because they've shifted and changed what's going on inside of them through that mindset. I think
agree.
also, here too, is just really to know, and I just want to back up what KJ said, like this feels like this is the time for you. Like you've been through a lot over these last few years. And even though it feels like you're under a pressure cooker or things have really intensified for you, I want you to also know that when things start to feel like they are out of control or they're as bad as what they could possibly get, that's actually a good sign. It means that the healing is about to take place. The shift 100%. Is happening. The miracle is coming. So I want to just say to you, don't give up on yourself or give up before the miracle has arrived.
And don't focus on the illness. Sorry, the last thing I want to say, stop focusing your energy on, am I dying? Will I die when I'm dying? Yes, you're dying. No, not today. And when doesn't freaking matter. So focus on living. Focus on living. And every time you have that fear, because as we're talking, I can feel this intense fear of, the dying, which is why I brought it up right away.
Yeah.
When you feel that intense fear, let it answer your question that it means not today, baby. So move on.
And what I would say the last thing, and find some peace in knowing that when your day does come, all those loved ones are going to be there to help you. You will not be alone.
100%.
You will not be alone.
100%. I say that to my sister now all the time. She's really struggling with the loss of my dad. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe if you look at it a little differently, right? Like look at it as he's setting up home for us because he's dad, right? It's like, he's always been our provider and our keeper. Maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe that makes it easier. All right, everyone. So that's our question for today. And so I'm going to leave it at that. And I look forward to us answering more questions. Again, remember, like and subscribe if you're enjoying talking to two intuitive nitwits and seeing what we have to say. Beyond Belief is sort of your channel. You're going to direct us. You're going to guide us. You're going to ask us so that we can help you. So remember to like and subscribe. I hope everybody has an amazing day. And remember, if you want something you never had, you got to do something you never done to achieve it. So take care, everybody.
Right on. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in.